The absolute shockwave of this Myles Garrett trade is still vibrating through the entire NFL. How on earth did a team like Cleveland pull the trigger on shipping out a generational defensive titan? People are calling it a masterclass in roster building, while others are screaming that it's a total betrayal of the fanbase. One thing is certain, the landscape of the league has been permanently altered, and we are finally pulling back the curtain on why this blockbuster move actually happened. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. Let's be real for a second, everyone thought the Browns were locked in. The organization had been preaching stability, yet here we are. When the news broke, it didn't just rattle the AFC, it sent a tremor through every front office in the league. Everyone is asking the same burning question: did the front office actually plan this for months, or did they just stumble into the most controversial deal of the decade? Before we get into the cold, hard logic behind the decision, I have to know where you stand. Is this move the ultimate path to a championship, or a complete disaster that will haunt the franchise for years to come? Drop a G in the comments if you think this is a genius move for the future, or a B if you think they just ruined their window. Let's see where the pulse of the fanbase is at right now. To understand this chaos, we have to look at what was said behind closed doors. The leadership in Cleveland didn't just wake up and decide to trade their biggest star, they claim they had a specific set of rules that, if met, would force their hand. They essentially laid out a formula for greatness, and apparently, this trade was the only one that fit the puzzle. But wait until you hear exactly how they justified trading a guy who was supposed to be a Brown for life. The organization made it clear, they weren't shopping their star around. They weren't sitting in offices aggressively trying to offload assets. According to their internal logic, they required three distinct things to even pick up the phone: significant short-term and long-term gains, a young player who was already a proven star on a team-friendly contract, and, of course, a mountain of premium draft capital. It's an incredibly narrow set of criteria. Most teams couldn't even dream of meeting those demands. The secret sauce here, the absolute game-changer that made this deal go from impossible to done, was the inclusion of Jared Verse. If you look at the economics, it's a stroke of genius. While Garrett was commanding a massive portion of the salary cap, Verse brings elite-level production at a fraction of the cost for the next 2 years. That's the kind of fiscal flexibility that wins Super Bowls in the modern era. They didn't want a dozen draft picks that might turn into busts, they wanted an immediate, high-impact player who fits the competitive window. Now, you might be wondering about the man himself. Did Myles Garrett feel blindsided by this? Was he sitting at home, completely unaware that his life was about to change? The front office insists there was no backstabbing. They claim he was kept in the loop for a week before anything was finalized. It was a courtesy move for a legend of the organization, ensuring he knew the conversations were happening. But even with that transparency, the tension in the room was palpable. We have to look at the psychological side of this. Last year, there were rumors of trade requests that never materialized. This time, the situation was different. Garrett holds a no-trade clause, which means he had to sign off on this. He chose to waive it. Why? It comes down to one thing: the hunger to win. Think about the environment he's stepping into. He moves from a team that is in a complex transition period to a ready-made Super Bowl contender in Los Angeles. Plus, from a lifestyle perspective, being in LA changes everything. He's surrounded by a high-profile atmosphere and joining a roster that is built to win right now. When you've broken every record in sight and you're staring at the prime of your career, waiting for a rebuild just doesn't fit the mindset of an elite competitor. But here is where the curiosity gap gets even wider. Some people are saying the Browns gave up too much, while others are saying the haul of picks they received in exchange for Garrett, including multiple future first-rounders, is going to set them up for a dynasty. Is the draft capital actually worth losing the best defensive player of his generation? Let's look at the cold, hard numbers. By moving Garrett, the team has cleared massive financial room. When you add that to the young, cost-controlled talent of someone like Verse, you have a blueprint for sustainable success. This isn't a team hitting the panic button, this is a team trying to execute a high-stakes pivot. They believe that by offloading a massive contract, they can reload the roster with multiple blue-chip prospects in upcoming drafts. The question remains, will the fans forgive them? In the NFL, winning is the only medicine for a broken heart. If this trade results in a deeper, more talented roster that makes a deep playoff run, everyone will forget the initial outrage. But if the team struggles to find its identity without their star anchor, the front office is going to face a reckoning that they won't be able to talk their way out of. This whole saga is a perfect example of how the Moneyball approach to football is evolving. It's no longer just about talent acquisition, it's about timing, financial leverage, and long-term sustainability. They looked at their championship window, looked at their cap situation, and decided that the risk of keeping the status quo was greater than the risk of blowing it up. So, where do we go from here? The ripple effects of this trade will be felt for years. Other teams are now watching, wondering if they should be evaluating their own star players with the same ruthless, analytical eye. It's a bold, high-octane gamble, and we are witnessing the fallout in real time. As we look ahead to the upcoming seasons, the focus for the Browns will be on how they utilize these new assets. Can they turn these picks into the next wave of superstars? Can they replicate the impact of the players they lost? These are the questions that will define this front office's legacy. This entire situation serves as a stark reminder: no player is untouchable when the math doesn't add up. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's completely standard for the modern NFL. The era of the lifer is fading, replaced by an era of constant, rapid-fire roster optimization. We've covered the why, the how, and the who. But now, we want to hear your final verdict. Now that the dust has settled and we know the reasoning behind the move, do you feel differently than you did when you first heard the news? Are you buying into the process, or do you still think this was a massive mistake? Drop a comment below with your honest take. Don't hold back. We're going to be tracking the reactions all week long. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, keep it locked here. We're not slowing down, and we've got plenty more breaking analysis coming your way as the league continues to shift. Stay tuned, because if there's one thing we've learned from this trade, it's that in the NFL, the moment you think you know what's going to happen, the script gets flipped. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.